Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show you know and love called Aftermarket. I'm Barrington Miller, and today I am joined with,
Well, I'm James Black.
and we have a special guest, which you'll find out after the beat.
Do you know my name?
We're back live and direct from the Aftermarket Studios in Southern Ontario, and we are joined by a special guest representing a special month. Special guest, tell us your name and why you're so special.
My mom calls me special, but I appreciate it coming from you guys. Thank you. My name's Todd Minerson. I'm the country director for Movember here in Canada. And you're right, sir. It is the hairiest time of the year.
Absolutely. So, for those of you who don't know about Movember, it's not about just growing a silly mustache. It's a lot more important than that. And speaking of silly mustaches, if you've seen some older photos from years past of myself and JB, you will notice us walking away from an explosion with silly mustaches, or the opening credits of some of the aftermarket episodes. But yeah, it's a serious topic disguised under silly mustaches. So what is it about? Tell us about Movember.
Movember is, it's the world's largest charity working on men's health. We've been going in Canada now for 14 years. We work on prostate cancer was our original area of focus, testicular cancer. And in the last 4 or 5 years of real critical importance, we've started to focus on men's mental health and suicide prevention as well. And, all of these things with the view of how to help men live happier, longer, healthier lives. And we have a motto internally that is having fun while we're doing some good. And we've been doing a lot of good in Canada the last 14 years.
Wow. So your phone lines or however people communicate with you have probably been very busy these last few months, to say the least, with COVID and, the impact that's had on mental health. Now, do you find that men are coming out and openly talking about their mental health, or has there been a lot of people putting their chins in the air and just toughing it out? Maybe just give us your perspective on what this past year has really given you perspective on as far as men's mental health.
Yeah, great question, James. We knew as soon as this started to hit and some of the factors came into play that it was going to be a challenging scenario for men and their mental health. When you look at isolation, quarantine, you add on economic precarity, potentially job loss. You look at close quarters with your family and maybe lack of other
Laughing.
It's true.
Everybody.
It's true. The pressure increases, right? Even in a fully functioning, lovely, wonderful family, if you've got kids in school who aren't in school, you've got elderly parents, like the pressure ratchets up. All of these things are, conditions that exacerbate an already kind of crisis situation around men's mental health. We know in this country, 3 out of every 4 suicides are completed by men. And while men may not report as much diagnosed mental health conditions, the symptoms and the realities that they're living with are really disproportionate to the population that's out there. And so we were really concerned about that when COVID hit, and we accelerated a few responses right away and make sure that we were looking out for our community and looking out for the people that care about men in their lives. And so one of the things we did almost right away, guys, was accelerate and launch a product called Movember Conversations, which is a tool about how to have these kinds of meaningful conversations, how to get past, how you doing, man? I'm fine. No, how you really doing?
Yeah,
I'm fine, but
really
let
fine.
me tell you about it.
Yeah.
And so that was our first response, James, but we've really been interested to know how men are doing, and we're really focused on solutions as well. And we can talk about a few of those as we get along here too.
I want to jump in because there are some cultural divides as well, and those scenarios where, depending on where you're from or where your parents are from, it's not even a thing to talk about mental health, never mind men's mental health. How is Movember playing into that, or recognizing or differentiating, or is it just everybody?
It's another great question. You know, there definitely are cultural divides and nuances, but there is a common theme really around men and masculinity and a lot of the conditions that we're taught to kind of grow up with, whether it's tough it out or don't ask for help or, you know, you have to be strong.
It's a sign of weakness.
Yeah, it's a sign of weakness. Even having those kinds of vulnerable relationships where you can ask and you can tell somebody you're not doing okay, those are somewhat universal. But you know, to address some of the different nuances, we really do a lot of listening. And you know, another factor that came into play over the last 6 or 8 months was really this amplified understanding of the struggle of men of color, of Black men, of Indigenous men as well, and how those kinds of scenarios can make managing your mental health and wellness even more difficult. And so listening, learning, understanding how to help in those scenarios has been at the core of it, and really asking our community for solutions as well. We just closed a call. Like, it's really amazing that we're in a position to be still funding new projects and new ideas, even in spite of all of these conditions. And we just closed a call called Social Connections Challenge, where we invited communities and grassroots groups across the country to tell us what they think they need to do around social isolation and connection for men in the time of COVID. And we got 30 different project proposals in this call for proposals from really small groups of people across the country.
Wow, that's phenomenal. So you've got the agenda with the mental health, and how are you guys still promoting and communicating the fact that you're advocating for men's internal health as well? You mentioned prostate and testicular cancer. How do you cover all those bases all in one mandate?
Yeah, I mean, people are still getting diagnosed with prostate cancer, with testicular cancer. People still have to go for treatment. People are still losing loved ones, sadly, to both of these kinds of cancer. So we've had to both continue on with that work, but also understand how it's changed in this time of COVID, right? At the beginning, people weren't getting to go to appointments, weren't getting their treatment, weren't getting updates. Huge problems with that, and only adding to anxiety and concern about their own health. Sticking the course on those messages and making sure they were still prominent was really important. And some of the really interesting stuff that's come out of that, in Canada in the last 14 years, we've actually funded over $100 million of prostate cancer research in this country.
Wow.
And that gets a clap.
Thank you. Who gets a clap is all of the Mo Bros and Mo Sisters that raise the money to do that. That's the people who get the clap for it, to be honest. But being part of a global organization as well has meant, guys, that we've had one drug just pass FDA approval in the United States, a brand new treatment for prostate cancer. We're working on things like clinical quality, which means better diagnosis, less side effects, better treatments, more information for doctors. And of course, we're also really concerned about awareness, because both prostate cancer and testicular cancer can have very good outcomes if we catch them early enough.
Yeah. So
we want every guy who is 50 years old to talk to their doctor about prostate cancer. And if you have a history of prostate cancer in your family, or if you're a Black man or a Caribbean man, your recommendation is to talk to your doctor when you're 45, because there are elevated risks
even earlier
in those places.
A friend of mine, and I'm saying a friend, a brother of mine, my best friend, my son's godfather, early detection. I remember when Movember, let's just say I'm a little older than been around for more than 14 years. And I've participated in, been with, grown, been a part of teams with Movember, and it was a good cause until it hits somebody that you're really close to, or something like that, and then you realize this isn't just about the mustache. This is so much more. And so, yes, if you are of Caribbean descent, African descent, Black, biracial, whatever, go get checked out. Go get screened. Anything. early. Check the egos at the door. We implore you.
100%.
And this is related to, and we always turn it back to business because this is a business show. Most of the people working, we're in Toronto on Bay Street, happen to be male. We're not saying that's a good thing or bad thing. It's a thing, and that's the way it is today. So this applies to you.
Absolutely.
I'll reiterate that our channel that this broadcast on CSC TV is, we look at the stats, is predominantly male at this stage. So for today and now, who's watching is probably male. And for sure, I mean, we'll put some resources down below, but if you identify with any of those, signs, age or ethnicity, then certainly let this be your warning, or at least your advisement to look into things. So yeah, well, I don't think I'll wait till I'm 50.
No,
it seems like a late.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah,
no.
You made a super point there though, Barrington, too, as well. Like, it's not just about the mo, it's not about the dollars raised, it's not about the goofiness or the fun, but every mo is a conversation starter. Every mo is a chance to raise some awareness. If you've done it, Barrington, then you'll be walking down the street, you see a guy in November with some cheesy, greasy, patchy looking thing, but you might look at them and give them the nod and say, I know what you're doing, and you know what I'm doing, and that's amazing. We just actually did a study, kind of cheeky study out of fun, to say, is Movember good for you? And it turns out it is. If people that are connected and aware of Movember are getting their prostate conversation with their doctor when they need it, they're checking their nuts for testicular cancer. Like, who has a job where they get to talk about people's nuts all the time, right? This is a very part of my life. But, it's the same with testicular cancer. If you check and something's wrong, get something done about it. And it's the power of the mo. It's the power of knowing this stuff. It's the power of being aware. It's the power of breaking it down. We also really want to see that kind of change start to happen in our conversations around mental health and suicide prevention. Because we know when you do research with people who know folks who've lost folks to suicide, universally they say they want to help if they only knew that they could do something. And that starts with having these conversations before it gets there. And so it's so much more than just the fundraising. The fundraising is awesome. It helps us do what we do, but it's the 70,000 Canadians that sign up and have these conversations. That is a huge part of it as well.
Yeah. And I just noticed in today's health briefing in Canada, the stats on opioid use, overdosing, and the correlation to the pandemic with that as well. So whether it's an intentional suicide or it's a drug overdose as a result of other mental health issues that are occurring, or addiction issues that have cropped up as a result of the stress of the situation, we're dealing with a multi-front war here on people's ability to function. And true. It's very serious times, as much as we're trying to address it in a very lighthearted way.
Yeah.
So I want to shift gears a little bit because, as I said, this is a business show. I want to know a little bit about the Mo business, the business side. I know it's a nonprofit. Is a nonprofit private? How does it work, and where does the money go? How does it get there?
Cool.
Yeah.
We are a registered nonprofit in Canada. We're also part of a global organization. So we have a headquarters in Australia. This enables us to do two things. We can be really responsive and kind of dedicate unique supports and services in market in Canada, but we can also achieve real efficiencies of scale by being a global organization. So I'll give you a quick example. Last year in Canada, we raised about $21 million. Globally, we raised $109 million, Australian dollars, actually. So it's even a bit more. We put that campaign money together and we think about really, really smart, efficient, effective, innovative, disruptive ways to do prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and mental health programming around the world. So we benefit greatly from being part of this global organization, but we bring it back home. And about 80% of the funds that we raise in Canada stay in Canada. And in terms of efficiency as an organization, our cost ratio, so the amount that goes to programs versus the amount that goes to fundraising, admin, tech, infrastructure, all the things that you need to run a business that's generating 20 million in revenue every year, was about 23%, which is, the industry standard is if you keep it under 35 as a nonprofit, you're doing good and you're getting money to the right places.
Okay.
Our board this year did decide, because of COVID, we wanted to put a little bit in a reserve fund. So we parked about 10% of that just to offset contingencies and uncertainties about the world in front of us now, like any prudent business would if they have the capacity to do that. And so we're able to ensure, even if it's a rough ride for the next couple of years, that we've got a little bit of insulation against the wide-ranging uncertainties of the next little while.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's one of the paramount challenges right now as a charitable organization or a nonprofit is how can you continue to involve and get your supporters to fork over cash and help your people fundraise in an environment where a lot of us are now collecting, a lot of people are collecting government assistance or their hours at work have been cut down dramatically, and they may not have that excess capital or money to just donate. How do we cut through that a little bit to make sure you guys still get supported?
We've got ways, James. We've got ways. Trust us. Like I said, first of all, it's about the people that do this, whether it's the 100 million we've raised for prostate cancer, or it's the 70,000 people that signed up last year to take part, or the stories like you told, Barrington, of people getting checked early because they're aware of it, right? So we want people to come back to Movember this year. You can sign up to Grow Mo. You can sign up to Move. We know physical activity is a key part of both mental and physical health. Right. Our Move challenge is to run or walk 60 kilometers in a month. And that's, we set that number at 60 because we lose one man every minute on this planet to suicide. And so we want to encourage guys to take that Move challenge. Yeah. We have a host option, James. You can host a virtual event this year. And you know what? We even added this year, if you have the Fleetwood Mac song in your head after this, I apologize, but we've introduced the option to mow your own way. And, if you want to knit a 40-foot scarf for Movember, go for it. Oh. If you want to climb the CN Tower 15 times and count it for 30 for one up and one down, go for it. And by way of example,
socially distant.
Socially distance. What I'm going to do for Mow My Own Way this month is have 30 conversations with 30 guys in 30 days about our health and wellness. Nice. So, there's tons of options to get involved, and we know our community is creative and resilient and passionate, and they're already showing up for us. It's really amazing.
Well, that's cool. Well, I know what I'm doing. I'm in the starting phase. I'm going to get a little bit of a head start here this year because I can't wait. But we're going to go handlebar this year. And last year, Barrington and I, as he mentioned, took some promo photos in preparation of this month because we didn't want to, leave too much to the imagination. We can pull this off. So, we're going to open up a page. We're going to fundraise. I'm going to ask anyone watching right now to just check the link below or after the show for my fundraise page, and Barrington may or may not be involved with that. We'll work out the details.
I'm
okay,
in.
Good.
I'm in.
Good
deal. So Aftermarket's going to have a Movember pledge, and what we're going to ask you to do is try to help us get to 500, and that should be so easy. So just give us the money now. But if we get over $1,000, I'm actually not just going to cut the mustache at the end of the month. I've got some hair that's been growing since March.
Sick hair.
it's actually I got some flow.
Nice flow.
And that has to go, but you guys have to earn it. So it's going to be at least $1,000 that you're going to raise, and hopefully you guys can come out and support us, and obviously the Mo Sisters, which I want to talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
So just link below, help us out, help out the cause, for all the great reasons that we've just discussed.
So let's get on to the sisters. Mo Sisters. Who are they? How do they help? How do they get involved?
Oh, man. The Mo Sisters are some of my favorite people around. There are so many women who care about the guys in their lives and are really, really passionate about doing something for them. whether it's their dads, their brothers, their husbands, their boyfriends, their sons. You know, the women who are part of Movember in any way are usually remarkable people. And that's also why, you know, over the past couple of years, we've really worked hard at these other options than grow a mustache, right? Like the Move, the Host, the Mow Your Own Way. These are all ways that for sure women can take part in, but also anybody can. And it just gives more options. We didn't want to limit it just to people who can have an interest in growing a mow to support this cause, because so many people care about men and their health. We have legions of Mow Sisters that are just incredible parts of our community and do amazing things.
Thank you, Mow Sisters. I also expect you'll be linking or hitting the link below as well for our fundraise. So,
absolutely,
or at least supporting us in some sort of manner. I got a question for you. Do you have to maintain this mustache throughout the year? It looks like you keep it well groomed. Is this part of your identity throughout the year?
Yeah, so great question, James. I'm glad you asked. I started at Movember in October 2019. I started on the job 2 weeks before campaign last year.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, talk about your trial by fire or drink from the fire hose or whatever you want. I heard them all in that first 6 weeks for that experience. But it was a phenomenal time to really see how campaign goes, to meet the community, to watch my team in Canada and their superpowers. It was a pretty amazing experience. When I got out of that month, I was committed about 2 things. One, I had to live this mission. I have to be purposeful about what I do here. If I can't have these kinds of authentic conversations in my life, then how can I ask other people to? And the other was, you know what? There's like 11 other months in the year, right? It's not just November. And so I committed to my team to sport the mow for 12 months and to use it as a conversation starter and to use it as a reminder that we need to do this work for 365 days a year, not just 30 days a year. And so it has been growing since then. Crappy thing about COVID is the mask situation. I can't really display it to its full potential out there in the world because I want to comply with public health regulations and get us out of this mess. But it's been, I guess, 362 days now since I've shaved it. And on Monday, it's coming off with some media functions that we're doing and starting all over again.
So normally for Movember, actually not normally, every single time for Movember, I clean shave on Halloween, whether it's Halloween morning, Halloween night, and I jump into Movember, and by the end, you know, I look like my son who's growing his mustache, and I use that term very loosely for Movember. But it was cool because he knows what it is.
Yeah.
Like he associates mustache in the month of November for men's health. Nothing else, but that's it. And he's awesome. 16, and it's awesome. But yeah, this year I'm taking a running start. I call it hiding in plain sight. So I've had, you know, beardish, stubblish, and I'm torn between the looks that I'm going to have. I like, and this might be a little bit, this is not politically correct at all, and the show sometimes goes down those holes, but I remember like my dad's generation and when they came and the mustaches they sported, and it was full and thick. And when you come from different countries and you come here, and it's usually that's what I'm going for. That's the look I'm going to try and achieve.
I think you might want to call that one the Magnum. You know, it is a little bit of the Magnum PI, like almost like it has its own postal code sitting up there on your lip.
But I have a mustache comb, which I've sit here, and I've been using it, you know, pretty much since COVID. And I have products. I have the balm and the gels and I tried mustache wax. I actually watched a video on how to use mustache wax, but I don't obviously have enough mustache to really do anything except flatten hair against my face.
Remember though, the basic principle, Barrington, no such thing as a bad mow.
No. Speaking of not a bad mow, There's an athlete in the city of Toronto who has been sporting a Mo for a couple years now. Austin Matthews, AM 34. It just, I hated it, and then I loved it, and I still love it.
He's very committed to it. I have to applaud this young man for his, you know, it seems like a committed hockey player, but very committed to the facial hair, which is totally not in style. So,
well, you guys are going to get me in trouble, but stay tuned.
Okay. Well, this may come out after, but yeah, we'll go back in time. You send us whatever it is that's coming up, and we'll post.
You know what? That actually sparks a topic of celebrity endorsements, celebrity Mo's, big names behind it. You know, what can you say or talk? What are you allowed to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, it's we get some prominent guys. Other countries around the world actually lean into that a little bit more. Sometimes, you know, Canadians just want to meet the regular average Joe.
Right.
But no, for sure we have some fun things lined up, but you're going to put me in trouble with my marketing team if I give you too much right now.
We don't, no trouble.
We'll follow up in the links.
No, we'll do that. And now correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys put an ad campaign that was really powerful. I thought, you know, promoting the month, and especially the one scene, which I can try to show still here, of the dad who didn't have the mustache. He can't grow the mustache because he's getting chemotherapy. And I just thought that was really well done. So kudos to you guys. That one stuck with me.
Oh, great. Thank you for that feedback.
Yeah, no, I really like that. Any other business, Barrington, or should we get this show wrapped so we can start raising some money for this thing?
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited for Movember. I'm excited for the organization. I'm excited that I know somebody is going to listen to this show and do something, whether they hug their brother or their dad or their uncle, or they, you know, click because they want to see James cut that sick hair off. Or they look up to see, what does a Magnum mustache really look like? And is Bear really doing that? I don't care as long as, like you said, as long as they move, as long as they do something. Because something is better than nothing.
That's right. You know, Movember.com is your place to go. You can not only register to participate in the campaign, you can support guys like you two, but there's tons of resources. There's that Movember Conversations piece. If you know somebody you want to figure out how to have a good conversation with, information on prostate, testicular cancer. There is amazing real life stories of folks that are going through this and are inspirations, and it's all right there at Movember.com.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Good way to end it. All right, Todd, thanks so much for that. And again, we appreciate you sharing that knowledge and letting us understand a little more about Movember. We'll see you at the end of the month, and we'll see where we end up.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And we'd love to chat again sometime.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
Bye.